All right.
Okay.
We're gonna have
I'm hungry.
some Q&A.
I'm hungry. We'll go Q&A.
We're gonna do some Q&A.
Q&A.
I don't know what that's gonna do
your
for
favorites.
quenching his hunger or satisfying his hunger, satiating his
I'm
thirst.
so hungry.
He's
tired.
thirsty as well. So I'm gonna ask Lynn some questions, and he's gonna ask me some questions back, and we're just gonna give you our 10 cents. 2 cents, 10 cents, 50 cents.
Oh, I don't know.
Piece.
$1 and a quarter. How much does it cost for a hot and spicy? How much does it cost for hot and spicy?
The price has gone up.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
a
true.
fat kid.
Inflation's always been a thing.
All right, so Lynn, do you think you have daddy issues?
No.
Why do you think you don't have daddy issues?
I've always had. I never knew my father. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. What is your definition of daddy issue?
In a male to female perspective, I feel
Let's
like...
just stick with male for now.
Okay.
Because we don't want to get in trouble.
Right. You know what? I don't know. I feel like there isn't really a difference when it comes to having a... Okay, no, you know what? I feel like a father figure presence is important. It is important no matter what certain people say when it comes to, you can run a household with just females. Yeah. Because it does change something. I remember I dated a girl a long time ago. Remember Hope?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Her mom was very sweet. Her mom's name was, which it's weird how they all had fucking different names, but then her sister's name with it just makes no sense. I remember when I was younger being around them, and I would hang out with her. Her mom was really nice. Her sister was kind of a fucking spaz, and then her brother was cool. But her brother was always having issues with them because he's the only boy in a house full of girls.
Yes.
And there was no dad around.
Right.
They would pretty much just call the dad the sperm donor. And you could tell the mindset of how they thought men were just trash.
Yes.
And even me coming in as like the boyfriend, it was just like I could tell how they wanted to treat people differently.
Yes.
And I feel like that diversity of not having or seeing both really changes your mental of like, I don't need men around. And now I'm not saying like nothing is like to like for feminism or anything like that. It's just it helps to play both because in order to have that, not to say that a mother can't independently raise a child on their own.
Yes.
There will be times when the child gets older and they need, even if it's just another parent, they need another person to go to. Because if you go talk to your mom multiple times, I'm sure you talk to Brian about stuff more than you did your own mom. And it's the same thing. I would go talk to Notch more than I would my mother, vice versa, if there was an issue. Because you need to be able to piggyback that through. When it's just that single parent mentality, if you're afraid of telling your parent something, you're going to go talk to somebody else. And it might be the wrong person.
True. Very true.
I was fortunate enough to have Notch in my life because he was willing, even though I'm not his biological kid, he was willing to take me under his wing and teach me a lot of things. And my biological dad is still in the picture. He's around, but I don't see him. I haven't seen him in years. Right. And every once in a while, he'll wish me a happy birthday or something like that, and I'll shoot him like a message like Merry Christmas. But it isn't the fact that having that primary person isn't there. I feel like the father figure role doesn't have to mean that you're biologically connected to that person.
Agreed.
I think it's the presence of what is this adult doing in this child's life.
True.
So that's my...
Ooh. Yeah. That was deep and philosophical.
He was there.
And I mean, and that's the thing. So I had to really kind of look inward on this because growing up, when we would say daddy issues, and I'm sorry, but that was normally geared towards women. They'd be like, she's got daddy issues.
But there are males that have it too.
It wasn't until I got older that I had to observe and recognize that dudes have daddy issues and or the reverse mommy issues. And it's crazy to see now that we're older that, I give my mom all the props that she managed to raise 2 boys by herself and teach us how to be grown-ass men. But we also had help. While my mom was single, I also had my grandfather and my uncle and their friends. Right, which is that other men, to kind of fill the void, if you even want to call it that. Because I never woke up and was like, I miss my daddy. I never had those days. It was just like, it's me, my mom, and my brother. That's it. And my grandfather taught me, how to shoot a gun. And he taught me how to get into a fight. And he taught me how to deal with pain when he poured rubbing alcohol on my open wounds on my knees. He taught me how to be manly, I guess you could say. So I don't feel like I have quote unquote daddy issues, even though I grew up without my biological father. However, I see men tend to now have more daddy issues where boys nowadays, I should say, not necessarily men, but boys nowadays feel like they're a little soft. Like they're lacking that, who am I trying to think of? They're lacking that Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
It's like, when we were growing up, We were in the kung fu, we were in the wrestling, we were in the guns and trucks. I remember Notch taking us to the monster truck show. Yeah, and I got to see Gravedigger and all that shit.
That was a long time ago.
Long ass time ago. I didn't think I would like monster trucks. I'm like, dude, this is some rednecky shit. No, bro, that was some of the most fun. You can't hear shit afterwards because your ears are damn near bleeding. But it was some of the most fun I've ever had.
You said your ears are bleeding?
That's what it felt like, because the trucks are they're just screaming and everybody around you is screaming and the noise never stops. But it's just like seeing the dynamic, or what they would call the nuclear family, which is mom, dad, on one child or multiple. It does change the dynamic and the way things work. There's actually scientific proof and evidence that having both parents in a child's life improves their chances of success.
That is true.
That's
an actual pretty good statistic.
So that's the first question. Okay, now I'm excited for the
What's the next one?
Boy.
Oh no.
What if Kratos was your father?
What if Kratos was my father?
Like, do you feel you would butt heads with him, or do you feel you would kind of look up to him and want to follow in his footsteps?
To have the God of War in your back pocket, man, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother thing. So of course, I'm still dying to fucking play the next one. I haven't had time to even finish the first. Having somebody like that, so obviously this is what is it, fiction?
Yeah.
Fiction, because fiction is fake. So obviously being a fictional character, hypothetical, yeah. Having a fictional character, hypothetically, as somebody to push you in there. Now, is he my father? And I also have the ability to become a god, because if he's my father and he's training me like this, I wouldn't live past the first year because I don't have the durability to do what he does. If anything, you'd get killed.
If you were Atreus.
Okay, yeah. So if you had the ability, so you're practically a god in itself. Yeah. I don't even know.
Like, for who you are now, for how you like to get down, do you think you would follow?
Well, that would be a completely different standard. Like to be in this time and era right now with that kind of a person,
yes,
you'd be a fucking mass murderer. Yeah. You're killing everybody. There's no, because it's not like he has a job. It's not like he's like, working a 9 to 5. It's, I'm killing you people, and then I'm in my house, and then I want to go bury somebody, and I'm killing more people, and then I come home and I'm in my house again.
Why did you stab that man?
Now,
he said he was a god.
Yeah, now there is someone at my house trying to kill me, so I'm going to kill him. I don't really think there's any plausibility to have him in modern time, but to, I guess, humor the topic.
Me.
Yes, I think I like the aspect in this. I'll compare this to Notch, to my dad right now. Having a strong individual like that you feel like is indestructible, pretty much because of what Kratos is. That's how I do see Notch, is that I know at the end of the day that this person, he can do no wrong in my eyes, because I know he can do anything. It could be like the craziest thing that I'm thinking, fuck, I don't know how to fix this, and then all of a sudden you go to him and he makes it seem like it was nothing.
Yes.
And that is something to admire, to have this person to be like, well, he can do anything. So if he can, so can I. Yes. And it gives you something to look up to.
Shit.
Not that individual mindset of, well, I'm going to give up because this is hard. It's, okay, I don't know what to do with this, so let me go ask him.
Right.
And if he can't do it, then nobody can do it. But every single time I go to him, I've never had him tell me, I don't know. It's, give me a second, let me find out.
Yes.
And then he goes and fucking does it. And that for Kratos is the same thing. It's like when Atreus is following him through things, and then he goes, oh, we can't do lift. This is too heavy. And he'll be like, hold on and wait. And all of a sudden he just sticks his fingers into the earth and starts like, there's a part in the game which is ridiculous. I don't know how to compare what his actual strength is, but there's one in the first games, you go to an area to open up another gate to a different realm, and the what is that called? It's not a chapel. Like not the tomb.
Citadel?
The Citadel, there you go. The Citadel is upside down.
Oh.
So you come in and you're walking, but the whole thing is upside down.
Nice.
And you can't figure out how to get in certain areas. So Kratos is like, all right, we're going to flip the Citadel. And Atreus is like, what are you talking about? At the bottom of the Citadel, there's two giants with chains holding it down.
Oh, I remember.
So you chop down one chain, you kill the people around it, chop down the other chain. And Atreus is like, well, the Citadel is still upside down. He goes, Father, what do we do? And he goes, give me a second. Goes in there, puts his hands into the ground, squats underneath and just starts pushing. So you have to tap the button and then just pushes and the whole fucking thing flips upside down. So it's like me going to Walmart, sticking my fingers in the ground of Walmart and flipping it upside down. And that's when I'm just like, Jesus Christ. That's a whole different level of I can do anything that I want.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
So, yes, that.
I like that.
That's cool.
I didn't think he was going to come at me with these answers. This is awesome.
I got it. Oh, you're going down a list.
Yeah,
okay.
I wrote a list.
Okay.
All right, picking up where we left off.
Okay.
I was rudely interrupted.
Apologies. This is my sorry for 2004. You remember that? What was that?
Sound like Usher?
It was Ruben Stunner.
Oh, I never know.
Yeah? There was the one song he did. He said, "This is my sorry for 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on American Idol.
We're going to move forward. That's way too old for this crowd. So, do you, being mixed, consider yourself to be white or black?
I was told by Michael Jackson, it doesn't matter if you're black or white.
This is true. Michael Jackson also...
don't you dare. Don't you ruin that. Don't.
He also has secret corridors and hidden doors in Never Never Land. So
did you ever? Sorry, I know this is off topic. Did you ever hear of the America's first serial killer? His name is H.H. Holmes.
No.
Oh man, that guy. There's documentaries about Dahmer and about Bundy and stuff like that because of the time frame, like the era. Yeah. Like obviously more media was
television and
so
stuff.
There was a guy, and like I said, obviously I'm going off a topic with this, but there was a serial killer by the name of H.H. Holmes. He had a mansion. I'm talking like a huge, like it was a hotel, and this hotel was a facade for guests to come and check in and stuff like that and come stay. And in this thing, when they were going through the hotel, they were having, I don't know how.
We're just taking a short break for my 6-year-old who decided he wanted to grab a cup of water.
I like how he walks in. You could tell, and he goes.
No, he will. He will look me dead in the eye and just the middle finger of mental middle fingers.
It's all right.
All right, you done, Skip? You take it in the room. All right. Thank you. Everybody says hi.
Your conversation was nothing to me. I like how he does it and then just stands and just gives you eye contact. Nobody tells me what to do.
Mortals.
Yeah, so to hit back on the topic for it.
Yeah.
H.H. Holmes had a hotel, and this dude, and this is an actual person. This was America's first serial killer. He had to have killed close to 100 people.
That's just
a lot. So what he did, it just gave me the idea of what you were saying about what was it? Who about trap doors and all that stuff?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, right? Yes. So he had a hotel where people would come and check in, and they'd go, stay, and there was a front desk clerk and everything. In each room, he had designed trap doors down to a dungeon where he would torture people. And it was weird. It was crazy kind of torture, like drilling holes in their head, lobotomies, like boiling them in acid kind of stuff. And it's crazy because when you see, there was a documentary on Netflix, I think, it shows the map out of how this thing looks. And it's crazy that he had like little trap, like you would walk past a picture and all of a sudden the picture would have a pair of eyes that would follow you. Like the old Scooby-Doo shit.
Yeah.
And he was an actual thing. They didn't catch him until he had already killed like over 100 people.
That's
so to say that it isn't a thing, it's an actual thing. That's pretty intense.
Thanks. Getting back to
I'm educating you.
Getting back
you brought it in. I'm gonna get you with the weird stuff.
Oh. So now that you're an adult and you've lived some life, do you consider yourself
the maple kind? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. The maple kind. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Now that I consider myself the adult, what?
Do you consider yourself more leaning towards white or black as far as your racial?
Neither. I could give two shits about race.
Ooh, so you're neutral.
I don't care.
You see no color.
No, because I'm colorblind. I'm colorblind. Anytime.
I literally can't see you.
I've had altercations at work where you're an officer and you're going to get people. The one thing that would irritate me, and it's not even a profile, but you get a lot of black people that try to use that card saying because I'm black, you're profiling me. And they would commit a crime. It'd be like, I just beat the shit out of somebody in front of you, or I stole something in front of you, and then, okay, you're profiling me because I'm black. And I've snapped back. Like, okay, well, can't do that because I'm half of that. But I told them straight up, because there'd be people that would come to me and say, oh, you're doing this because I'm black. And I was like, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care enough about you.
Right.
To profile you. Right. You mean nothing to me. You are nobody. And they'll be like, oh, well, that's dark. Now you're just. It was like, well, you can't. The one thing you can call me an asshole and say that I'm heartless. The last thing you can call me is that I'm racist, because I would fuck up anybody regardless of what their race is. So when you do the whole thing, I would get so irritated. I'm like, okay, so I'm half of that, so I'm not racist. Like, well, black people can be racist too. I was like, okay, so you're being racist because now you're profiling me, and it becomes a back and forth of, well, because of this. And one guy tried to convince me. I remember we were trying to escort him and a couple BFAs, black female adults, out of House of Blues, and they were arguing and bickering and fighting and shit. And this guy walks up to me and he said, he used the term. He's like, you a nigga. I can tell because of your beard and your nose and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm half. He goes, why are you embracing that other side, that demon side? He goes, white people have enslaved and blah, blah, blah. And I'm walking with him. I was like, I'm not embracing anything. I'm telling you, I do not care.
Right.
And he goes, well, you should care because you should be siding with people like us. I was like, why would I side with you? I don't even know you.
You fucking animal.
You mean that? Yeah. And I told him, and I become off very cold. This is like, you literally mean nothing to me.
Literally.
You could go outside and get mowed down by a car and I would shrug it off and walk back in.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with what your nationality is.
Right.
So to think that you can compare with me because of half of my side isn't going to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm kicking you out is, and I say it, back then I was a little more hot-headed. I was like, because you're a fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
You decided you wanted to get a free meal.
Right.
And that's all it was. They were in House of Blues. They made a fucking mess with all their food. The girls were arguing amongst one another, and then they decided they just didn't want to pay the host.
Yeah.
The server. And the server's like, well, is there anything wrong with the food? They're like, no, we just don't want to eat. We don't want to pay. And we're like, okay, well then you have to leave. You're defrauding an innkeeper.
Right.
Well, it's because we're black. You're making us pay. Like, you're committing a crime, and you're saying yes. That's what irritated me. So when we started getting them out, and they're like, they didn't want to press charges, but they were going to deal with something else. Like, okay, we're still trespassing you. We don't need to take you back and put your restraints. If House of Blues had pressed charges, we would have got them because you're defrauding an innkeeper, meaning you're splitting on a bill. Dine and dash, pretty much. But they wanted to use race to get out of getting a really large free meal and make this poor server, this little, it was like a Hispanic girl, like a white girl saying, like, you're racist. And they're like, well, I'm not. I hated that when people would use race to give a way to cheat the system.
Yes.
And yes, I'm not saying that there isn't any kind of racial things where there are a lot of black people that do get discriminated and treated like shit because of the national.
Seen people abuse that card.
It's a double-edged sword. So to blend in the middle of, do I feel like I'm one or the other? I don't give a fuck about both. I'm gonna treat you as who you are as a person. If you're a good person, I'm gonna treat you as a good person. If you're a piece of shit, I'm gonna treat you like a piece of shit.
Right.
It's not that black and white.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I like it. He's on fire.
No.
All right, we're almost done. How far would you go to protect your child? And I'm going to put this in a scenario of what the shit we've been dealing with lately. Public shooters, active shooters, school shooting.
Yeah.
How far would you go? What would you do?
To come off like with me now, and this is something that has always been important to me. I've always been I'm big with kids. I've always been like that. I want to give kids the most amount of ability to go back into the whole co-parenting or step parent and stuff like that. But even kids that aren't my kids, and then not to make it like in a creepy manner, but it's like my the warden's the warden's
offspring.
The warden's sister has a few kids, and they all know me. Every time I come there, they always say, hi and everything like that. But there's this sweet little girl that I have her as my Avelia. I'm hoping I'm not butchering the name, but I love how innocent kids can be, and that they're so pure that I don't know, and this is just my mentality of like teaching is like, even when I'm teaching at my job, new students, when somebody learns something new from me, it makes me feel important because I go, okay, that's a little piece of me that's going to this person, and they're using it to better themselves. And with kids, it's the same thing. I love the aspect of helping people grow to be better, and if you can do that when they're young, you can I feel like with what I do, I try to put people in the world to make the world better. Yes. So at the end, when I do die, I did something.
You left behind a legacy.
I left behind a legacy, and when it comes to a child being my own or not, Genesis today got her belt. She belted up in jiu-jitsu, which is fucking phenomenal.
Congratulations!
It's such a cool aspect to see. Someone that's not even my biological kid. Right. Follow in the same path that I did.
That little girl is beastly.
And I was showing Dee these videos, man, and it was phenomenal.
What move did you tell her to do?
Oh, an Americana. Yeah.
This dude, you just see the video and you hear him go, Americana. This girl snapped. She became Black Widow for that split second. I saw the move like in Iron Man, the first Iron, where she whips around the dude's neck and puts him in an arm bar.
Yeah.
That's what this little girl did.
She is...
Minus the black suit.
Yes, it impresses me how adaptable kids can be, and that also puts in the mindset of you put so much energy into nurturing them to grow.
Yes.
If something happens, it's not just a direct attack towards that kid. It affects you as a person. And for me, it's like, I mean, sounds fucking serial killer style, more or less. But if anything were to happen to her, or any youth of mine, I have no hesitation to kill somebody. Yes. It wouldn't even take me that long.
Yes.
And this is the downside about it is like I'm not just attacking you, because I know, and you know what? I know how the system works now. Yes. I know how you have to drag them through court, and you have to fucking do this, and then at some time they might get life, or they might get. It takes too long.
Not waiting for that.
I go vigilante. It comes to the point where it's like I'm making sure that what you did. Active shooter. You can't do again. You can't do again, and you're not going to get out of here from doing that. I will storm whatever area it is, and that's why I'm such an advocate. Like I have the protector mentality. Yes. I am such an advocate for. I was talking a day or two ago. I was asked, why do you go to the gym? Mm-hmm. And because I was exhausted, I was tired, but I was like, fuck, I still have to train.
Yeah.
My job does take a big portion of it, but it's my ability. I don't really care too much about how I look. Yeah. Muscle and physique, it comes with that over time. But I'm not there to fucking impress anybody. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who do either find me attractive or want something to do with me is because, from what I've been told, it's because of how I carry myself. Yes. I carry myself in the mentality to know that no matter what it is that's in front of me, be it a person or any kind of thing, I can fuck that shit up. Yes. Without any hesitation.
You move with purpose.
Yes, I have a purpose to know that if someone were to come in and a threat were to come in the room, I could probably disable it. Mm-hmm. Probably. And now it's not 100%. It's not always going to be a thing, but I know I can do. I know I can do more than these parents sitting behind on social media recording or calling the fucking police. I'm not waiting for you to do that. I will get in there. I will find a way to get in, and I will stop this person by any means necessary. I will die trying. And a lot of people say they'll do it, but then when it comes to it actually happening, they cower. Yes. And for me, it's like anytime I test myself mentally. I know that when I'm about to go into class, every Thursday I show D when we're doing our little fight scenarios. Yes. Everybody jokingly, all my officers have named me Sifu, just like because I've trained so many fucking people, and everybody on my team I've trained. And I've shown D like the picture of one of my guys, Jordan. He's a huge Samoan guy, and I've grappled with him and taken him down. So for people to see. I try to get people to come and kind of fight around with me, and I want to test myself. I want to know that even if I'm injured, I can still put a fight.
Yes. I can handle you. Right.
Yes. And because you can go to the gym and then you're like, all right, I touched 315 one time, for 5 to 6 reps. A year from now, if I tell you to do the same thing, you haven't worked out, it ain't going to feel the same. Right. So I do it once. I don't go all the time because I try not to get hurt. Of course. But once every 3 classes, I'll be a part of the fight scenarios. This week I was a part of this one, and we had a large class, and it was 3 of us versus 30 students, and they all tried to attack me, do stuff, and I started implementing what I know to try and go through, and still smoked every single one of them, put them down to where nobody really gave me much of a challenge. And I like to be able to know that I can do that to where if something does happen, right, on the drop of a hat, I can take care of it. Yes. And that is the same thing for when it comes to her, to Jen, and anybody in my life, that if I need to handle that situation. If it's her life over yours, I'm killing you. Yes. 100 times over. I will resurrect you and then kill you again.
Big facts.
Yeah, it's not going to stop anything.
Well, and I brought that up because, I think a lot of people, they are afraid to think about these things or afraid to consider what they would do if the moment came. And more times than not, especially nowadays, the moment is happening. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us are too reactive instead of proactive. We wait for shit to happen, and then it's like, oh, well, now I should do something about it, as opposed to I should have prepared or at least done something, even if it's nothing but a mental preparation beforehand. Just like Lynn says. So anytime I go somewhere, I scope out the exits. I scope out the entry points. I scope out if there's a veranda, if there's a balcony, if there's, beams hanging overhead that somebody could. Is it going to happen? It's a 1 in a million, billion, trillion chance.
Your sense of awareness is very on point.
I see that.
Yes.
My first instinct is get the fuck out. I'm not, hey guys, you gotta, and somebody. No, I'm grabbing me and mine, and we're fucking out of there. Right. It's just not happening. I don't know if you heard about the Halloween incident. It was overseas. It was in Japan. Oh, I forgot where it was.
What, is just recent?
Yeah, this was recent. It was a Halloween incident where people were so happy to just be free of COVID, all the restrictions, that everybody and their mom flooded the streets for Halloween just to go out. and apparently the streets and alleys were so flooded, something happened, and it pretty much triggered a fucking Lion King Mufasa stampede.
You know what? That does sound familiar.
People died and they were crushed and everything like that.
It was here in the States, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Damn, that's gonna bother me because now I know.
I know. I see. Okay, so here, let's do it.
I think it's saying Korea.
That's what it was. It was in Korea.
Yeah, it's saying South Korea. Damn, 151 people were killed.
Yes, and they were pretty much trampled.
At least 151 people were. Holy shit, that's a lot of people. 151 people killed as Halloween crowd surges turns to deadly in South Korea.
So shit like that.
Yeah,
there's no way I would have took.
I can believe it though, especially when it comes to South Korea. It's just.
But there's no way I would have my family in that. There's no way on God's earth. As soon as first of all, I'm an introvert. Second of all, I don't like people in my space. So when I'm shoulder to shoulder with people and I can't breathe, my girl is like 5'2",
right,
5'3" on a good day, and my boy is 6. There is no way on earth they would have been able to navigate through that crowd. You know what I mean?
Yes and no, because I've worked a lot of concerts and events where I've seen this many people in one plot. Because when you look at it right now, for me, my eyes, I've seen this before. I've seen this before in venues.
Oh yeah, we've seen it.
I've learned to control situations to make it to where nothing is going to happen to me. But not to go against what you're saying, to be in the introvert mentality of never wanting to do anything because you don't want to put yourself around people, that's like saying you want to be on a planet with no population.
No,
that's not what I was saying. If you're locking yourself into not being in public areas, you may lose the enjoyment of actually experiencing things in life. So it's like when I took the warden to go to one of her first concerts, the more thing I was concerned about was, okay, let's and it was House of Blues. House of Blues is not huge, but it still gets pretty packed. And it was
2 stories now?
It's always been. It's been an upstairs downstairs. But it fits. It's not like T-Mobile. T-Mobile fits like close to 65,000 people. Oof. When we went to go see System of the Down, that was rough. But because literally if the crowd moves, you move. It sways you. I didn't want to put her to that one. So the first one we saw was, and it was a fantastic concert. It was Wage War, Barry Tooth, a bunch of people. And it was big enough, sold out to where there was probably 30,000 people, not even 30,000. I'm thinking like maybe 10, 15,000.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot, right? So my mentality was, and it was the same thing for her. It's like anxiety's going to kick in. She's going to freak out because we're going to be smashed. I'm mentally strong enough to control to know that I've been in this chaos and I'm like, okay, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen that I can't navigate my way through. So I told her, I was like, look, I want you to get full exposure to this. I'm pushing us to the front of the stage. And I know how to maneuver from security.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just moving around and we're moving until I know we can't go anywhere else. Put it right in front of me. I was like, you tap me or look up at me and let me know because it's so loud. If it gets too much,
you let me know.
I'll pull this out. She didn't tap once. She saw the whole thing and she told me going forward for every concert we go to, she wants me in the front.
Right.
Because it opened her mind. But prior to this, she was like how Dee mentioned, I'm an introvert. I don't want to be around a bunch of people. I'm not going to do it. Those life experiences come with sacrifices.
They do. Well, and that's kind of what security did to me. I've always been kind of an introvert, but I'm more willing to be outgoing if the situation, calls for it. When I was doing security and I got into, I would say this was a 30-man fight where it just randomly broke out between Hispanics and African Americans, and it was a bloodbath. When we were in that crowd, when shit was going down, it, like you said, it kind of gave me that awareness. I was fine because I'm like, I can handle myself. Even if I get knocked down, I know I can get back up. I'll scoop some people out, and I'm going to be on top of you, just ground and pound at worst. That kind of put me in a different state by myself. But then my ex.
Remember, your super ex. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember when we went, were you there with us when we went to that rock concert? I always forget.
Warped Tour?
Warped Tour.
I didn't go to Warped Tour.
Yeah,
no.
You didn't go with us. She got swept up in a mosh pit, and I couldn't get to her because of how the pit was moving and where she was. She was almost like dead center in the pit. So she crawled out of the pit. Thankfully, she kind of figured her way out. But that messed me up a little bit.
Yes, and I understand it. I understand the aspect of it pulls you in to have to. You're putting yourself under, you know what your CNS is, your central nervous system. So when you go to squat or deadlift or bench, everything, you have to. It's not that the weight is heavy; it's your body has to get exposed to being put under pressure.
Yes,
and I feel like that is healthy for people because if you put yourself in that situation to know that it happened, you start to plan ways. It was in a controlled enough environment where you can handle it.
Right.
And I want that exposure for, my loved ones because having the kid in jiu-jitsu, I want to know that if she's exposed to serious situations that when something actually happens, it's this is nothing. And there had been there had been a we'd gone to see, what the fuck was it called? Memphis Mayfire, and it was at the Hard Rock. It's not the Hard Rock anymore. Is it the Hard Rock?
I haven't been over
It's
there
the hotel,
so
yeah, hotel way the fuck down there. It's not the Hard Rock anymore. What'd they turn it to? It's the Virgin, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, so it used to be the Hard Rock Hotel, and I think it's called the Virgin now. And that venue was tiny. I'm talking like maybe if they put your house together twice. Like the stage is just right there.
And this is a tiny house.
The minute you walk in, the stage is right there.
That's
and
crazy.
You have you have a little corner right there where everybody's moving around. The roof's elevated and looked nice. And then you cut over here, and then there's a side exit door. That's it. There's a back bar, and that's everything. So it was fun because you don't have to fight through. Yeah. There wasn't a bad seat in the house.
You were kind of already there.
General admission was just standing. You're already right there watching it. And I remember we're at the concert. We're up on the railing. You can physically, and I'll show you one of the video afterwards. You can physically touch the artist, which is cool. So you're experiencing everything, but it's so loud that my camera couldn't even pick up the volume of it. Yeah. And behind you, there's a mosh pit. They're doing their own shit. These people in mosh pits in these events, they're not there to hurt you.
No.
They're doing their own thing. And there's people that fall in the mosh pit.
They don't notice.
They do, because people fall in these mosh pits and they pick them up. Yeah, I've never seen anybody. I've never seen anybody get trampled in a mosh pit. I've seen people get trampled in a panic.
Yes.
And so what happened is there's this guy. He looked like Benjamin Franklin, old. Which is it was a heavy metal, like a screamo band, and he's got like old hair and everything like that, with shorts and a shirt, and he's just dancing and doing around and doing his mosh pit thing. And I kept feeling, people bumping into me, which is fine. I was like, okay, as long as she's in front of me and we're watching it, no big deal. But then I saw him come in between us and try to move her into the mosh pit.
No.
And I swept him so quick.
Right.
Like, grabbed the head, grabbed the arm, push, pull, and kicked. And this dude fucking flipped into the center of the mosh pit. So where the mosh pit stopped. Dead center, the music's still going, and they picked him up, and he looked at me and just did one of these and then walked away.
Yes.
And it literally slowed the mosh pit down to get the fuck away from me. The fact is that I had enough power as one person.
Yes.
To navigate pretty much a hurricane.
Yeah. A flesh.
Had I not exposed myself prior to, and I was in that situation, it could have been worse.
Yes.
So the exposure helped me grow as a person to handle
that's the difference between how the situations we decide to put ourselves in. Unfortunately for me, I've had kind of the negative side of things when it comes to, because me and Lynn are protectors. It's just what we do. We protect really hard, especially, like Lynn said, our loved ones. And unfortunately, I've been in situations where either I wasn't there, because for some reason shit always pops up when I'm not around, or I was told to not be a part of the situation, and that kind of, it changes the way you see things. But at the same time, I say the benefit that we both took from it was we're very reactive. We're quick we're not impulsive. We take a moment, we think things through, and then we act on it instead of waiting for somebody else to tell us what to do, instead of standing around like a deer in headlights. And that's why I said I wanted to bring this question up for this particular topic, was just because we've been seeing a lot of active shooters and unfortunately a lot of kidnappings, domestic violence, things like that. And, very few times do you hear people being kind of, like Lynn said, kind of approaching the shooter. Most people are running away. They're trying to flee. It's kind of that fight or flight, and everybody's flying away. But, you got to be the one to, you have a sidearm. You have, that plan of protection where you have to charge in and be the protector. You have to be that person. And I really hope, we're kind of changing our mentality as these travesties happen, to where it makes us harder.
Yes, you I don't want to have to expose everybody to the dark side of Vegas and how you have to be in security in order to fucking see this shit.
Right.
But a healthy exposure to trauma, it definitely helps grow you as a character, because right now we have a lot of digital keyboard warriors, where they're going to talk a lot of shit and do a lot of things and cause harm, but then when you expose them in person, they're like, they won't do shit. Fuck, they won't do anything. And I've had a lot of people do that, where they'll talk a lot of shit, and then when I call them out, they're like, well, I was just kidding. I was like, you weren't, because you were saying some shit that would really hurt somebody mentally. The mental and physical aspect of, okay, I know that I can talk to you. I've had this before, just to kind of sum this up. I've had my verbal defense of influence of my words to be able to control situations become better, because I became more patient with conversation. I don't come in hot-headed anymore, because I don't actively train as much as I used to. But I know it's like, okay, if you threaten to attack me, I know you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I heard from one of the black belts, not my favorite person, but he made a comment saying when he was training the kid that when he grabbed her, he goes, the power of jiu-jitsu is that I'm taking away your freedom to do with what you want with your body. So no matter how much you kick and scream and tell me, you physically cannot do anything to stop me from doing it.
True.
And when that becomes a thing, when I know that when I get my hands on you, there's physically nothing you can do.
Right.
The words that you say to me don't really hurt me.
They don't matter anymore.
So when you start talking shit and I go, you realize that when we get to this point, it's not going to work for you.
Right.
So I don't want to waste my energy. Mm-hmm. So let's figure something else out. Before I used to be like, I'm going to fuck you up and we're going to go. And then I'd fuck them up and be like, this wasn't worth the work.
Fix anything.
It didn't fix anything. I ended up hurting this person. I got a little beat up. And now I'm like, well, this doesn't give me anything.
Right.
It's like pissing out a fire that I started.
Yeah.
So I slowly became more aware of, all right, how can I talk my way through this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, you try to be a negotiator and then you figure out when you have to go hands on. So I just, like I said, I want to bring the awareness out. I want us to start thinking more proactively. I want us to start also be willing to protect each other. If you see somebody getting hounded on, bullied on, or whatever, if you think a situation may be arising and you can, without putting your own self in any danger, if you think you can intervene without causing any harm and actually de-escalate the situation, do that. Be proactive. You don't know, if you're helping somebody, if you're stepping in the way of a potential crime or something like that, you might be saving a life. I agree. You really never know.
I agree.
All right, and that's all I got. Lynn, you got anything else?
No, sir. I'm done.
All righty then. I'm D.
This is Lynn.
As you know, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. All of our links in the description down below. GoFundMe, Patreon, my book on Amazon, our Teespring shop, and everything else. We're Project Airwaves. Keep your head in the clouds.
And keep your feet on the ground, always moving forward.
We will catch you in the next episode. You did real good.
So good.
So long.